Welcome back to my channel, Queen's Generation Wellness. I am your host, Miss Flowers. Today I want to talk about the kids because I think as parents, grandparents, or whoever, if you're taking care of some kids, when I started out, I was not just thinking about generational wellness for myself and for, the ones that are my age and talking to them about certain things and going to therapy and personal development and learning how to handle our emotions and things like that. I wasn't just talking about us. It's generational wellness. Just like you hear people saying generational wealth, they want to leave wealth to their children and their grandchildren. Generational wellness it's the same thing. Not the same thing because I'm not talking about money, but within leaving it to that next generation. Because I see a lot of parents, they're doing the work. They're doing it, they're reading books. They're trying to change. They're trying to fix relationships that they broken, or they're trying to get rid of some people that they need to get rid of. But at the same time, what are we doing with our kids? I ask my kids all the time, how are you today? And my kids ask me all the time, how am I? But I also ask them, I also ask them, how are you today mentally? And my kids are they're kids, but at the same time, they're kind of old souls. So when I say certain things to them, they understand what I'm saying. And then there's sometimes they don't understand because you have to break things down to a kid's level. So for my kids, I ask them how they're doing mentally. And we talk about their emotions. Because there's a whole bunch of people running around here and they don't know how to control their emotions. And that starts from childhood. People don't want to admit that it starts from childhood, but it starts from childhood because their parent didn't know how to control their emotions. So now we got a whole bunch of people running around here acting a fool. And it's like, oh, it's okay because this is how they were raised. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not cool. Then you bring those kids in and these parents are mad at these kids for acting like them. Make it make sense. It doesn't. You're getting mad at someone for acting like you, but you're not doing anything to try to change that. And I know there's some parents out there, they're doing the work. They're working on their mental health. They're working on their personal development. They're working on things within themselves from their childhood. But we can't leave the kids out and then wait until they 18, 19 and then say, oh, well, you should have did this. No, some of our kids need to be in counseling. Some of our kids need to be in therapy. Some of our kids need to have somebody that they can talk to other than you, their parent or their guardian, so they can get some stuff off their chest too. I worked in the school system from 2008 to last year. I've heard some stories. I've heard these kids say things that you wouldn't believe that they would say because they've seen too much. Some of these parents, guardians, whoever, doing too much in front of these kids. These kids know way too much. Back in my day, you were oblivious to a lot of things. And then when you got to the age of knowing what was going on, it was like, that was going on. But these kids, they know way too much. And it's sad because they don't even know how to process some of the stuff that they know. They don't know how to process their emotions. They don't know they can't even have a conversation sometimes without feeling like either an adult is not listening to them, not hearing what they're saying, or feeling like I'm going to get in trouble if I say this. And I grew up in the 80s where, it was not as much a child should be seen and not heard. But it was like, you knew certain times, certain things, you don't say certain things. But even in that, you were considered being grown. Or a child need to stay in a place. When sometimes people don't understand that. I tell people all the time, children are people. They're people just like we're people. They have their own personality. They have their own minds. They have their own thoughts. They're people. And I guess sometimes kids don't need to be in grown folks' business. But at the same time, grown folks need to stop talking around these kids. Because they come to school and they tell it. Trust me. I know some stories. They come to school and they tell it. And then I got to be the person that I got to go to the teacher and say, what we're going to do. So now we got to figure out if we're going to call Child Protective Services, or if we're going to call the parent and talk to the parent, well, the teacher's going to call and talk to the parent. But I was one of those people that the kids would come to and the kids would tell me stuff. And I'm just like, now we got to call Child Protective Services because something's not right in the home. And these kids can't talk to their parents because the parents are not listening. And then you have it on the flip side where these parents are they're working all the time. It's not that they don't want to listen to their kids, but they're working all the time. They're not making time for their kids. So these kids are coming to school tripping. And the parents like, I don't know why they're acting like this. I don't know why they're acting like this. I give them everything. I do this, I do that. Blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, but have you spent any time with this kid? And I understand to a certain extent when people say they want to give their kids what they never had. So give them time. Give them understanding. Give them freedom to talk about how they feel. Because this is how they feel. At the end of the day, you can say all that, oh, they need to stay in their place. They have feelings just like we have feelings. And that's exactly why I say some of these kids need to go to therapy. Some of these kids they need to have some kind of other outlet other than sports or other than cheerleading. And cheerleading is a sport. I mean, I'm not trying to, whatever. But they need to have some kind of outlet other than, the usual. Because I know a lot of people that play sports and it may have kept them out of trouble, but emotionally and mentally, they need to go to therapy. They need to go to counseling. They need to sit down with somebody with some experience and talk to somebody. Because even though sports may have kept them out of trouble, mentally their mind is troubled. As parents, if we're doing the work within ourselves, we need to be helping our kids so that they don't have to grow up and be 30, 40 years old, going to therapy for their first time, 30, 40 years old, talking to a counselor, 30, 40 years old, just like, oh, this ain't right. Now I'm doing the same thing to my kids. This ain't cool, but I'm still doing the same thing to my kids that was done to me. But at the end of the day, stop getting mad at these kids for acting like you. You could say all that, do as I say, not as I do. At the end of the day, kids do what you do. Kids act how you act. They react how you act to things the same way. It's people all the time. Oh, you act just like your daddy. Oh, you act just like your mom. Oh, you act just like this one. They're watching you. They're not worried about what you say. Because they know what you say don't hold no weight. Kids do something all day long. Until they see you doing it, they don't care about most kids. They don't care about what you're saying. My mother used to tell me all the time, don't smoke cigarettes. Don't smoke cigarettes. And I'm like, how you going to tell me not to smoke cigarettes and you're smoking cigarettes? I never picked up that habit of smoking cigarettes because I felt like cigarettes the smell is just disgusting. So I never picked up that habit, but there are certain habits that I picked up from her that I'm now like, now I got to make sure my kids ain't picking up this habit. Now I got to make sure especially I was the only child for 17 years. So I was very to myself for a long time. And then when I did start talking, because I was that kid that, I want to say people forgot I was around because I was so quiet. But adults would talk in front of me all the time. And I would just be sitting there like, should I move? Should I go? So a lot of the wisdom that I do have and a lot of the understanding that I do have is because I've always heard adults talk. So a lot of things that my mother went through because I watched her, because kids watch their parents. Kids watch who they're around most. A lot of things that she went through that was not considered, but that was just crazy and it was bad. I don't put up with stuff like that. There's a lot of things that she went through that I just do not put up with. And I had to learn that myself. I learned a lot from other people, and including my mother. So a lot of things that, I got some of her good, I got some of her bad, and some of the bad I don't have because I'm not putting up with certain things. And I don't want my kids to see certain things because I know how it affected me as a child. And like I said, you know better, you do better. I knew better, so I did better. So certain things my kids can't say, they seen. Certain things my kids can't say, well, you did blah, blah, blah. They can't come to me with that. So if they learn that from somebody else, they learn that from somebody else. Or if they chose to pick that up, then that's on them. But at the same time, we got to stop getting mad at our kids for acting out when they really just need someone to talk to, when they really just need an outlet. They need someone other than you. And this is where, the village comes in. Because I try my best to be the village to my younger cousins, to my little brother. Because me and my brother are 17 years apart. So I was more the mom than the big sister. My brother would call me about things and I'll be like, well, you got to ask mommy. Because that's just what he did. He would always ask me first. And I try my best to be the village. Because I know that my kids are not always going to want to talk to me. So I need them to have people, the people that I've been the village to, I need them to be the village to my kids. So I know there's certain ones that my kids can call and they can talk to, and I'm not going to feel like they telling them the wrong thing to do, or they're telling them, you ain't got to listen to your mom, dad, da-da-da-da-da. Like, no. They're going to talk. They're going to let them talk. At the end of the day, I know they're going to tell them the truth. I know that they want the best for my children. So therefore, I don't mind them talking to them. But as a parent, you want your kids to come to you, and that's understandable. But do you feel like if you were that child, you can come to you? Because a lot of times I would see these parents that come to the school, they just screaming and yelling and cussing and carrying on. And I'm like, well, this is why he act a mess. This is why she act a mess. This is why. Because you a mess. And you don't want to admit that you're a mess, but you are. But once you can get to the point where you can admit that you're a mess and you're creating another little mess, you and your child is going to be better off. Because you admitted that you need help. There's nothing wrong with getting help. And as parents, raising 2, 3, 4, some people have 5, 6 kids. You're raising all these little different personalities. You got all these personalities, all these emotions going on in one house. You need to talk to somebody too. And stop pretending, I got this. I can handle this. You can't. And that's why I'm big on going to therapy. That's why I'm big on getting counseling. That's why I'm big on go journal it out. Go write it out. Do something. But at the same time, we need to be teaching that to our kids too. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you guys next time.